Flushing girl from Flushing, the nanny named Fran.
Oh, Mr. Sheffield.
Miss Fine.
Hello. Hello, people of Earth, and welcome back to Oh, Mr. Sheffield, a podcast about The Nanny, a sitcom from the 90s starring Fran Drescher, the head of SAG-AFTRA, union leader. I am Shawn Pasquale, here with
Toria Sheffield.
And we are talking about season 6, episode 12, The Fran in the Mirror, which I assume is an allusion to the Michael Jackson.
The man in the mirror. It's like, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I half expected you, because this is season 6, episode 12, to say season 6, episode sex times 2.
Oh, sex squared. This episode is written.
That's not sex squared.
I don't know what math is. This episode is story by credit to Chandler Evans and Jane Hamill, and writing credits to Jane Hamill for the teleplay, and it is directed by Jennifer Reed.
Wait,
yes,
Shawn.
Yes.
Do you think that this is the Chandler who is Peter Mark Jacobson's assistant?
I do.
Woo!
I do. I think this is, especially based on the structure of the writing credits here, I absolutely think Chandler got their first story by credit after being an assistant, it seems, for quite a while. And then they gave the teleplay to Jane Hamill, and she wrote it and got paid for writing it. But I bet you that's exactly what happened here, and it's awesome. And I also want to bring up, because I can't not bring it up when I say the name Chandler,
I know.
the sad passing of the great Matthew Perry, who has gone far too soon from this world, a tortured soul, to say the least. He was one of the funniest people on the planet of Earth. He consistently made me laugh in almost everything I ever saw him in, even the bad movies that he did. He was funny. And it's very sad. It's very sad how tortured he was, and that he died so young, and he brought nothing but joy to the people around the world. And it's sad that he could never find some of that inside. So I hope he's at peace. And
I think probably for the people of our generation, and then so for a lot of our listeners, like, it sounds so cheesy and corny, but like, when you grew up on Friends, like, they felt like your friends. Like it was a huge part of the culture, and it was also a time when, again, there's so few channels, and relative to now, and really everybody watched. There were really huge communities around these shows, and like, you know, like, to me, was one of the most shocking, like, sad celebrity deaths maybe I have felt in years, and just was like, how can this be, you know? But yeah, it was interesting. I was curious if you were going to bring that up today, and I was kind of thinking, I feel like on our podcast specifically, it does make sense, you know?
Very sad, and he will definitely be missed. So that's that, and now we'll start the show in proper fashion. This one is Fran in the Mirror. Again, we have a new director, Jennifer Reed, this week. She has not, so far it's been, Peter has been the primary director of all these episodes, I feel like, in season 6. So it's interesting to get someone new in there. And what was this episode about, Toria, Fran in the Mirror?
This was the episode. There's almost like competing storylines in this one. But this is the episode where Fran is attempting to help get Gracie into a private school for gifted children, while Maxwell's old best college buddy from Oxford comes to visit and kind of embroils them in a seemingly sham investment scheme. And then it all ties together thematically by the end.
Yep. It really kind of does. Also, we get a huge Krispy Kreme product placement in this episode.
Oh my God. We have to get to
pay
it.
A fortune.
I wanted, oh my God. And the thing is, I didn't realize it was Krispy Kreme specifically until like a couple minutes into the scene, because I wasn't really reading anybody's hats or logos. But I was like, oh my God, those donuts look so good. I just want a
did his
donut.
job, baby.
Oh my God. And then when I realized it was, because at first I thought it was like a Krispy Kreme kind of like knockoff, like that they had to do for like, they couldn't get the rights or something. But
crispy donuts or whatever.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh my God, no. And I 100% want Krispy Kreme now. So man, you know what? That sponsorship, it has 30 years mileage.
It worked. It worked. Even now you're like, I got to go there.
Yeah.
Krispy Kreme, we're happy to plug you all you want if you want to send us free donuts.
Oh my God.
That's all we ask. Okay. So this one also, I thought had a lot of interesting Gracie stuff, which we didn't get a lot of over the last few years. She's like a full ass adult now, huh?
I know. I have some notes on that too. But when we start this episode, it's Fran, Sylvia, and Gracie in the kitchen. And
oh my God. And Sylvia looks incredible.
I'm getting there.
Oh
You're so excited.
God.
You're jumping ahead to all of it.
So excited. There's so much. All right.
So they're in the kitchen. And we find out that Gracie is applying to this like fancy East Side school for gifted children. And we also established that that Fran is trying so hard to kind of like, schmooze the headmistress of the school and kind of get in good to help with the, grease the wheels for this application process, that she's invited like the headmistress and other students over to their home that week for sort of a little music concert where, she'll hire a musician and have some food and hors d'oeuvres and just kind of do like a little classy soiree, right? And then this is the other note of this scene. So as I think we've talked about before, how Renee Taylor in real life was told by her doctor that she needed to lose weight for health reasons. And I think this was like around last season that this started in her real life. And now we see her in this scene and
my God,
she's lost 30 pounds. I Googled it.
Woman looks incredible. Like I was like, she looks like a different lady almost. Like she really 30 pounds make a huge difference on her. It's crazy. And I mean, she looks fabulous. Like she always was fabulous and had that flair, but she really, really, really looks stunning. And it's very, very satisfying it feels good to compliment her looks because she did it for the health reasons, not, and so it's like, it's bonus that like, it also looks great on her. So that's awesome.
And
she's still alive too.
Yes, she is.
So
she
is. Goes to show you can pull, if the doctor tells you pull your shit together, pull your shit together and you can live a lot longer. That's what I did. My doctor told me.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Well, we talked about this, that before Shawn started kicking his like health journey into play, his doctor said he had so much fat in his blood that it was pink, not red.
Yeah, it was basically just filled with yellowish butter.
And it sounds like I'm making that up, but that is a true story.
That is a true story.
And then he got so healthy.
Yeah, now my blood is as red as can be.
Let's prove it. So it's pro, taking care of your vessel because it's the only one we got. So good for her.
Yeah.
Then, we established that. And as you said, Gracie is like, she's like as tall as Fran. She's like a whole human now. And then Maxwell comes in and he's super excited because it turns out he just bumped into his best old buddy from Oxford, Rodney Pembroke, and he's going to go out to dinner with Rodney, and Rodney's going to come over, and he's like giddy with excitement, and he's almost like, Niles, do you remember that crazy night we all had where we drank and then we got sick all over the bathroom, and then somebody left the bathtub on and it flooded everything, and he's like, I think that was you, Niles, and then Niles just goes, no, but do you remember the next morning when everything was spotless? That was me. So it's like Mr. Sheffield, and this is like a little bit of a running gag throughout the episode. Like people keep inserting Niles into all these fun party situations, not remembering that no, he was always just the health. And he was not having any fun.
It's extra gut wrenching because of Niles's subplot this episode.
Oh.
Which the moment it started, I got a knot in my stomach and I went, "Oh, he's never going to see that money."
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. But there was also, this was a bit of a like when I complained about you being the logic police, I was a little logic police this week because I was like, most English people would know that like a lot of titles don't come with money. And that's like, there's a whole class within England of like title rich, money poor people.
That's my problem. Title rich, money poor. And you'll do well to refer to me as Sir Shawn Di Pasquale from now on, please.
Yes, Lord Shawn.
Lord. Yeah.
But
it's Baron, actually.
So then we cut to the event that we were talking about earlier, and there's this incredible, it's in the mansion living room, and there's all these sort of young fancy students mingling, and there's this incredible piano player playing, like, I don't know what it is, but like Vivaldi or something, on the piano. And we see the headmistress of the school, and she's like, sitting there clearly seemingly very charmed by it all, and it's going really well. And then she goes, she goes, "Oh, Fran, I realized like I don't even know anything about you. Like, what's your educational background?" Which, by the way, while that might sound like a crazy question to some people, I grew up in an environment where people really asked that question to parents.
So did I.
Yes. And
it was not shocking to me. I was like, yeah, it's shocking now. I go like, ew, what a gross question. But
yes, but that was very much the environment that I grew up in. It's one of the reasons why I actually really enjoy LA versus the East Coast.
Yes.
Because people really don't care. Like, they're like, what's your passion? What do you do? Like, what do you like to do? Like, that's the question. Not, what is your pedigree? What is your educational pedigree? But so anyway, Fran instantly, like, she tries to like, spruce herself up. So she's like, "Oh, I had a very positive experience with private schools, and some of my best memories are with my classmates." And then Gracie, like, who usually is savvier than this, but she was like, "Who?" And then Fran just looks at her and she goes, "Tootie, Blair, and Natalie," which are just characters from the Facts of Life, which is just so funny that like that is Fran's probably closest connection to actual private school.
Like approximation of school life.
Yes. And then
Toria, we can cut this because it's probably not going to be interesting, but while that was happening, my current ADHD mood had progressed to the point where I did this, and look at your Slack.
Okay, let me see. Slack is how we communicate. You did that just now?
What? Yeah.
I was talking. Okay, if we don't cut this, listeners, Shawn just sent me a selfie of himself, a photo of himself. He's moved his large headphones that are normally, the part that goes on your ears goes on your ear, and then there's the part that rests on your head. He moved it down his face, so the part that normally goes over your head is just covering his mouth like a giant mustache. It's so silly. We will post it if we decide to keep this in. It'll be a game time decision. So Fran says the Tootie, Blair, and Natalie thing, and then but things generally seem to be going well. Like, it's so funny that Fran also. Whoa, so the headmistress is like, "What a wonderful pianist. Where did you find him, Fran? He's not from Juilliard, is he?" And she goes, "No, he's the pianist at Macy's." Because they don't do this anymore, but in Macy's there used to be a piano player, which was kind of cool. But so then things are going well, and Fran's plan is working. But then Maxwell comes in with his old chum Rodney, and they are hammered. Rodney, by the way, played by Maxwell Caulfield, who
what?
Two things that do you not know him? You must know him.
I don't know him. Who is he?
Oh my God. Okay.
I didn't even recognize this guy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So some of our listeners will be like, this is incredible, because the two big things that he is known for. One, he is Rex Manning from Empire Records.
Oh, that's why he looks so familiar.
Yeah, like Rex Manning Day.
Oh, okay.
And that's like such an iconic subplot of a movie that like if you had a shirt that said like Rex Manning Day, like people would be like, love that shirt, right?
Totally. Oh, absolutely.
And then our other listeners, who if they're like me, will be like, it is the main guy from Grease 2. Oh my God. He was so dreamy. He was so hot. I don't know why I can't remember his name in Grease
Hey,
2.
Grease 2, the music and feeling will go on forever. His name, he played Michael.
Michael.
To
Okay.
Michelle
Oh,
Pfeiffer's Stephanie.
yeah. Are you reading this or do you remember this?
No, I'm reading this. That movie's trash. I saw it one time and I
Oh
wanted
my
to
God. No.
die.
If you
hated it
saw
so
it,
much.
if you saw it during the right time of your childhood,
Yeah.
you loved it.
What, without
I
having
like it.
seen the first Grease?
No, as a kid, Grease 2 was much better than Grease 1 to me. And my cousins, we all watched it at the same time. We vastly preferred Grease 2. It doesn't matter that like it's technically not as good a movie. Like now that I can see that as an adult, like I love it. I can
Oh my
sing
God.
every
Okay.
song.
This is the question of the week. Listeners, weigh in because this could be partnership ending. We might not do any more episodes of this podcast because that is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I thought Grease 2 was universally despised by everyone as just like a laughable follow-up.
You know, maybe I'm sure you're right, but again, I saw Grease 2 when I was probably 7 or 8,
That's
and
crazy.
to this day, I love it. But okay,
Amazing.
listeners, we want to hear your
we want to hear your opinions. I might be wrong. Everyone might be like, you're an idiot and you're old and your age is showing, and we hope that you're the one who leaves the podcast now. And
Yeah,
Toria just does it by herself.
It does it, and then it evolves into a Grease 2 podcast. Okay, but so back to how this whole tangent started.
Yeah.
Maxwell Caulfield playing Rodney Pembroke comes in with Maxwell. They're hammered, and Maxwell busts into this classy party going, "Hey, sexy, let me get a look at those legs." Like, first of all, talking to his wife in front of his daughter, which I already was like deeply uncomfortable with. But I was also then irate. I was like, Maxwell, like you are a horrible parent right now.
I like drunk Max.
I like him like in a vacuum, but I don't like it when he's like, I'm like, Maxwell, you should be at this soiree. Like you're like, don't make this only Fran's responsibility. Like you've been this girl's parent for much longer than Fran has. But so then
he so quickly fell into like, well, you're the mom now. Goodbye.
Yes. Well, I guess Niles probably had to do all this before Fran was there.
Yeah,
but
true.
but then, but Fran, she ushers Maxwell and Rodney out of the room, and she kind of like is keeping this elegant evening on track as best she can. And she even like rings for Niles to sort of be like, oh, forget that little interruption. Like let's call the butler for more tea. As soon as she rings the bell, we cut to Niles, who's now in the foyer, and he is opening his mail, and he literally screams, "Sweet Lordy, Lordy, my ship is coming." He just screams it in the middle of this party. And then he runs over to her and he's like, "I just found out I have an uncle who died and I've just inherited a royal title. I'm going to be rich." And then Fran just looks at him and goes, "Did you get the check yet?" And he goes, "No." And then she goes, "Then get us more tea." And so again, this evening definitely had some road bumps, but overall it seems Fran is doing a great job, now seemingly being the sole parent of this child. Then we cut to the next morning. Sylvie is now in the kitchen with Brighton, and I loved this joke. She's tearing pages out of a magazine so she can save it. And Brighton's just like, "Sylvia, why don't you just take the magazine home?" And then she looks at him and she goes, "That's not courteous." But like we're ripping pages out of people's magazines pre-internet when like that was your only source.
That was it, baby.
But so then
you only got one copy.
Yes.
Like if you subscribed to us, so if you had a subscription, you just got the one thing. That's it. So it's very rude to like rip pages out.
So selfish.
It's like ripping pages out of a book from the library. Yes. You know what I mean? I mean, like, well, I need these pages. I love this passage. There's no other way for me to preserve it here in 1996.
So that happens. It was so funny. Then Fran and Gracie come in from what we find out was Gracie's second interview with this school. And then I wrote two things. One, where is Maxwell in this seemingly very important part of his daughter's life? And then two, I wrote, I'm not loving Gracie's sort of new condescending attitude towards Fran. Because now they're definitely playing it as like, oh, she realizes Fran like kind of lacks class, or Fran doesn't know the meaning of big words and blah, blah, blah. And she kind of is like, eye roll. And as much as it bothered me, I was like, well, I guess she is a teenager now. And plenty of like sweet little kids become this way to their moms and it's heartbreaking.
You know, I didn't really think of that angle, but I think that's fair assessment. And then I would give them that's probably what they were going for in this is like, all right, she's a teenager now. She's a little sassier. She's like rolling her eyes a little bit. She's like pushing back, at whatever establishment she has, which, is in this case, Fran. So in much the same way that like, I feel like, well, no, I guess Brighton didn't really go through that. Brighton went through like a little spoiled shithead face.
Yeah, and then he became humbled, and now he's just like a mensch.
He's such a mensch now. It's really the Yetta. In my head canon, his relationship with Yetta was a real turning point in his life, and like it really chilled him out and like humbled him, and now he's just like he's just a good boy.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. And in fact, he even goes over to Gracie at this point. He's like, Gracie, I got rejected from that school. What makes you think you're going to get in? And she's like, I work hard. I have a 4.0 grade average. I'm a good writer. And he's like, well, fine. But, if I'd rather, be smart or be good looking then. And she'd like, you'd choose either. And he kind of just nods solemnly. It was so cute. Then Maxwell comes in. He's basically like, I actually have to go to London, but it's just going to be for a day. We have an emergency meeting about a production. Like, I'll be back tomorrow night. And he actually calls out to Niles. He's like, Niles. And then Niles comes in wearing an all leather blazer and pants and an earring. Because apparently now that he thinks he has money coming to him, he
bought a bunch of clothes.
Yep. And he's like redoing his look.
He looks amazing.
Yeah, he looks good. He's also seems to have sort of started working out. Like I noticed that in that construction worker scene from the other week. He seems to be getting in shape as an actor. But and then Cece is also there, and she says something really cutting. And he's like, why can't you just be happy for me? I'm not used to people calling me sir. You're used to it. It's just like a mean cut. But so Maxwell called him in, and then he hears that exchange, and he goes, "Oh boy," he's like, that new title must have come with a big check. Let me see it. And then Niles is like, oh, it hasn't come yet. And then Maxwell goes, all right, then go upstairs and pack my clothes. Like everyone's basically just like, you still work for me until you have that money. Yeah. And one thing that we also, I guess we're going to establish in this next scene, but we kind of did establish it earlier that the thing about this Rodney fellow is that he is like one of England's richest people, and like he's an incredible investor, and like everything he touches turns to gold. Yeah. So then and we did establish this earlier. I just forgot to mention it. But when they came in drunk and then like headed into the office, Maxwell said all that to Fran, and he's basically like, "Ooh, we're gonna go work on some deals, like because Rodney wants me to invest in some things, and like it'll just be insane not to." So they go off. Yep. So that was established
because as we've already established, Maxwell is a greedy capitalist pig who is never happy with enough money. He never has enough, and he just needs more. He needs to gobble up all the money in the world.
And remember, he's also a slumlord. But so then the next day, while Maxwell is out of the house because he's in London, Rodney stops by. And Fran and Cece are already in the office, kind of just doing their normal funny bickering. And then Rodney comes in and he tells Fran that Maxwell was going to write him a check for the investment, but, he's out of town now. And the thing is, he has a 5 p.m. deadline. And he's like, but I'm hoping you can just write it for me, because you're his wife. And then Cece kind of jumps in almost to be like, no, because like Cece's the business manager. And then, and Fran's like, well, I am his wife. And this sort of starts this little tension between them. Like who has the authority to write or decide not to write this check? And Cece's like, I'm the business manager. And Fran's like, well, I'm his wife and this is a personal investment. And she's like, she goes, but this is a personal investment being made by me and Max. And then Cece just goes, but you're stupid. Like that was her rebuttal. And then they start wrestling for the checkbook.
I mean, look, this is one of the rare times where I was like in Cece's corner. Toria, I got to talk about how hydration is very important. I learned this recently. Hydration's not just for like running marathons and exercising and that. You need to be hydrated daily. It's daily maintenance, right? So if you're going to the airport or standing on the sidelines of your kid's soccer game in the hot sun, if you're on back-to-back conference calls, it doesn't matter, right? Proper functional hydration is essential. And Liquid IV is the #1 powered hydration brand in America. Their hydration multiplier is the one product that you're missing in your daily life. Well, maybe not you, Toria.
It's true. I actually use Liquid IV. I've used it for probably almost 2 years now. It comes in so many yummy flavors. It's a little powder that you put in the water you're already going to drink. It comes in strawberry, lemonade, grape, lemon lime, pina colada, watermelon, so much more. It makes you feel so much better, so much faster when you need to hydrate.
And with just one stick of this stuff, you hydrate real life 2 times faster than water alone. So just quit wasting your time with water. It's for losers. It's a loser's game. Plus, you get essential vitamins like B3, B5, B6, B12, vitamin C, 3 times the electrolytes of any leading sport drink, made with quality ingredients, non-GMO, and free from gluten, dairy, soy. Plus, this company, they want equitable access to clean and abundant water for everybody. And to date, Liquid IV has donated over 39 million servings in 50 plus countries around the world. So, Toria, how do we get this stuff?
So it's real people, real flavors, real hydration. Get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use your code Mr. Chef Pod at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code Mr. Chef Pod at liquidiv.com.
Use it now. All right. So, Toria, what just happened?
Okay, listeners, it's only been a few seconds since you last heard from us, but for us, it has been a full week. We had to.
Time is weird.
We had to stop mid-record. I had a random work emergency where I had to bolt into the office on a Sunday. So if we sound, like, I don't know, like if we have more like beginning of the ep energy instead of mid-ep energy that I'm sure you're all accustomed to, that's why. Because even though we're talking about an episode right in the middle, we're just starting for the day. So we're going to be shaky. Yeah. I don't even know where we are right now.
I'm lost and alone and cold, but that's probably because I didn't close my window before we started. I'm cold.
He also got the booster and the flu shot, so he's
slowly dying.
Okay. Well, anyway, listeners, that's right. A little insight into us.
That's where we were, but here's where we are, is Fran has just been approached by Rodney, who, as we'll remember, is Maxwell's friend.
Oh, my God.
Who is this guy?
Oh, my gosh.
Who's Rodney?
Yes. Okay. This is so frustrating to listeners because they were just listening to all
Just listening.
Okay. So basically, Cece and Fran, they're fighting over like who has the authority to like cut this check. And, right. And ultimately Fran wrestles the checkbook from Cece and she writes it and she's very smug about it. And
I felt like this was one of the first times where I was actually on Cece's side.
Yes, you mentioned that you really felt like no matter what, they should have discussed this. But it's like...
They should have discussed it. Like, I get they're married and it's her money just as much as anybody's. But like, if Elizabeth was going to write $1 million check, I would really, really, really prefer if she talked to me.
Well, I think the problem with this situation, though, is like Rodney came in and made it sound like Maxwell had already like been like, yes, I'm going to invest $1 million with you, and then just like had forgotten to write the check before 5, So Fran doesn't realize that like potentially, I mean, yes, you would hope that for $1 million, you'd just be like, let me make a quick call. But I guess he's on a flight. I can see how it could happen. But so what happens is then Jocelyn, Maxwell's sister, comes in just as Rodney is leaving with the check. Again, we're like, it's interesting that Jocelyn is here, and maybe she's here to stay.
So I wrote that I made the same note where I was like, wait, is this supposed to be the payoff of Jocelyn's big return from a couple episodes ago? Right. Is she just pops up again randomly and says some stuff and then leaves again? It's so bizarre. I don't know.
But she's basically like, oh, like that Rodney, like so handsome, but too bad he's broke. And then Fran and Cece are like, what? And she's like, oh yes, like everybody in London knows, like he's dead broke and he's not only burned through his money, but he's burned through all his investors' money as well. And she's like, ta-ta, like walks out. So Fran just has this look of horror on her face because she realizes she just cut $1 million to a guy who apparently is like running through people's money and using them. And Fran, and then Cece's like, Maxwell's gonna fire. Fran freaks out and looks at Cece, and then she's like, Maxwell's gonna fire you when he finds out that you let me write that check. Which is just, and then we cut to the you see, here's why I was confused. Because in my mind, we had already talked about this next scene, which is why I was like disoriented in where we were in the episode when we came back. But I think you and I just talked about this off mic because we're such fatties. I think we talked about this before we even started recording last week, which is we then get to the next scene. Fran and Cece are in a Krispy Kreme donut shop. And, you know, Fran's like...
Which we should note, Val is working there. Yeah. That's why they're there, is because... They establish in this scene that Val now works at Krispy Kreme, which I adore. Perfect job.
That is how they explained this product placement away, which is that Val works there. So she's like pouring them coffee. And Val's just like, you know, Fran, there's got to be a way for you to get your money back. And Fran's like, no, you know, I already, it's the best line ever. Fran goes, no, Val, like I already called the bank. It's already in a Swiss bank account and it's been converted into francs. And then Val goes, oh, well, once you convert it into hot dogs, it's very hard to trace.
It's an amazing... It's an amazing line. It's so stupid and it's so brilliant. It's great. 10 out of 10. Amazing line.
And then
she delivers it so nonchalantly. It's not even like she doesn't try to sell it as like a bit. You know, she just goes like, "Yeah, well, once it's converted into hot dogs, there's not much you can do." It's like,
and then, oh my god, it was so funny. But then, you know, and Fran is like super defeatist about all this, and Cece's of course not helping. But Val's like, you know, Fran, this is so unlike you. Like the Fran I know would march right up to that guy and demand the money back. And Fran's like, you know what? Like you are absolutely right. Like, but she's like, but if it doesn't work, like, I would like to work here. Like, it's basically what she says when on her way out. But assuming that if it doesn't work, she's going to be like knocked out of the mansion on her butt. But so Fran does indeed go to visit Rodney, who's
maybe. You probably just skipped the line, but I wrote. I don't even remember why I wrote this. She must have said something, but I wrote for that scene. I wrote, of course, Cece likes cops. A cab.
Oh yeah.
So did she mention cops in that scene? I don't even remember now.
After Fran walks out, she goes to flirt with a police officer, and then is like, she's like, hey NYPD, oh I so blue. But
whatever.
So then Fran goes to see Rodney, and he's in this sort of lavish apartment, so fancy. And
what was that? Was that an apartment? Was that supposed to be?
Like his office / where he?
It felt like a mansion. I was like, where are they suddenly? And why does he live here? I thought he was broke.
No, I mean, but here's the thing. We're not, we understand that he's just taken a check for $1 million. Maybe he's hoodwinked other people. He's in this very nice setup. And, you know, she's just like, hey, like, I know what you're up to and I want that money back. And he explains, he's like, you know what, Fran? He's like, I don't want you to do anything that you're not comfortable with, but the only reason, truly, that I did not tell Maxwell the whole story about my situation is because I have been making incredible investments for my whole life, and I made one bad one, and everybody lost faith in me. And he's like, but I knew that once someone like Maxwell invested in me again, everyone else would follow suit. And he's like, I just needed a second chance. And he's like, oh, you probably wouldn't understand. You know, you've never been the underdog.
Yeah, that's like my childhood dentist who was arrested for abusing children and like hitting them. Was like, look, you hit one child and give him a black eye and they tell you can't be a dentist anymore? What the hell?
Did that really happen?
Yeah.
Hashtag Florida man. Then but so Rodney says that, and the thing is, I have to admit, like he played, like, it was an authentic. It felt very authentic. Like I myself
Yes.
was like, I can't tell if he's scamming her or not, but this seems authentic.
Me neither.
And he's like, but
Yeah.
he's like, I'm going to go back into my office and I'm going to write you that check. So he goes into the other room, and Fran, she literally looks at her reflection in the mirror in the room, which is where I guess we get the titular
The
Fran in the
title,
mirror.
yes, the Fran in the mirror. Here we go.
And she's kind of like, what are you looking at? And her reflection is like, oh, you know, like, you never needed a second chance before. And then
This scene was very Mary Poppins.
Yes, it was.
It made me think of Mary Poppins. You know, when she like fights her evil self in the mirror, that like the other Mary Poppins in the mirror is kind of like mean.
Yeah.
That's what this was like.
But so, you know, but in this case, the reflection Fran is the one that's like more her conscience, right? Her inner dialogue. And, you know, so Fran's like, well, you know, but sure, I understand second chances, but he lied to me. And then her reflection's like, and you never lied to try to get something, miss, you know, you went to fancy prep school and, you know, you're related to Mo of the Three Stooges, which was another lie that she told to try to impress the headmistress of this fancy school that Gracie's applying to. And, you know, basically the reflection Fran is like, you know, you should give this guy a second
I think I might start telling people that I'm related to a Three Stooge. One of the Three Stooges. It's been enough time now that I feel like no one really would question it. If I was like, oh yeah, Shemp was my like great uncle.
Oh yeah, my sisters. She had a teacher in high school who was one of the original Little Rascals. Isn't that crazy?
Smothers brothers are my second cousins, twice removed.
So you know, Fran, she's conflicted.
My dad's cousin's brother was Harpo Marx.
Okay, guys, this is gonna go on forever unless we kill Shawn.
I'll just mute myself and keep doing this.
Yes. But so Fran's empathy wins out in this scene, and we cut back to her at the mansion. After the gag of where her reflection self is like, if you do this, if you give him a second chance, I'll give you a present. I'll show you what you're going to look like in 30 years. And it cuts to, that was definitely Renee Taylor, right?
I'm pretty sure it was. I couldn't tell, but it looked like
Renee Taylor in a Fran wig, and it was very funny.
Yeah,
but so then we cut to Fran coming home to the mansion, taking off her coat. And she basically interrupts Cece.
Which, hey, 30 years later, Fran looks great still.
Oh, yeah,
so.
She does.
She looks phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, but back at the mansion, Cece is sticking her own head to photos of Fran and Maxwell around the house. And Fran comes in and she's like, you know, well, Cece's actually like, let me guess. You went to demand the money back. He said, you'll regret it. And then you let him keep the $1 million. And at first, Fran starts to shake her head like, no way. And she's like, yep. And then Maxwell comes back from London and he comes in, he's like opening his mail and he's like, oh, you guys will never guess what I found out. Turns out Rodney is dead broke. So glad I didn't invest with him. And Fran, you know, she looks even more horrified. And she is put in the position of having to say that, well, she actually did end up cutting that check for $1 million, which results in Maxwell chasing her out of the house, which, again, we've talked about this before. What would happen if he caught her? Like, what are they implying here? but so then here's a nice thing, though. We then instantly cut back to like that fancy New York office / apartment with Rodney and Maxwell and Fran are walking in and Maxwell is very much like on Fran's team or he's basically like, you did this to both of us. He's not even blaming Fran anymore. He's like, it's you're at fault for like intentionally like tricking my wife. Right. I was like, thank God he's a little more reasonable. But when they first walk into this space, it is completely empty. Like every single item of furniture is gone. And it looks like he has taken their money and run. Yeah. But he ends up coming out and they're like, you know, Maxwell's like, how dare you? You know, this and that. And Rodney is like, Maxwell, no, like, I just made you $500,000. And he's like, what? And he's like, just like I thought, as soon as you invested in me, everybody else faith was put back in and everybody else followed suit. And like, you've already like, you know, are in a day have half your money back and you're like well on your way to making way more. So it's like, oh my God, of course, like Fran's instincts and Fran's good heart actually won the day, right? Which is a theme we've established. And then, you know, Maxwell like goes back into the back room to to like go call his accountant with Rodney. And Fran, you know, looks in the mirror and she's kind of like, what are you looking at? And her reflection is like, you know, very pleased with her. And she's like, but you know what? This is a lesson
I'm looking at the Fran in the mirror.
I hate that song.
It's one of his worst. I like, no joke, one of his worst.
I hate it.
Right.
But so
yeah, all the Michael Jackson fans are going to come after us.
Come at me.
I'm sorry.
Come at me.
Come at me, bro.
So then, you know, Fran's like, what are you looking at? And her reflection is like, you know, good for you, but now it's time for you to start being authentic. Okay. She's like, come clean to that headmistress and be your authentic self. Okay. And she's like, or else I'll show Maxwell what you'll look like in 30 years. So we then get to the next scene. Fran is sitting across from this headmistress in the living room, and she's just pouring out every single lie she's told to this woman in order to impress her. And then she's like, and you know what? I'm actually like, I didn't go to a fancy school and I don't have this pedigree. The woman goes, well, of course I know you're classless, dear, but that's not the reason Gracie isn't getting in. And Fran's like, what? She's not getting in? And she's like, yes, you know, we just have so many children from privileged backgrounds like Gracie's. We're going to give her spot to an underprivileged youth from Queens, which I thought was great. I'm glad that they were profiling that a little bit.
It's cool.
And then Fran's like, wait a second. You're saying I'm not the reason our daughter's not getting into our dream school? It's Maxwell? Because I think this woman had even said, she was like, oh no, it's not your background. It's actually, it's not, she's still Maxwell Sheffield's daughter. And then Fran is like thrilled that it's not her. And then the button of this episode, we are back in that Krispy Kreme.
Thank God.
I'm telling you, Shawn, I am going to go get a donut after this record. Go now.
So we'll stop the episode.
It's a 3-part. That stretches into 3 weeks.
It'd be really funny if we came back and we're like, hey guys, it's the following Sunday. We did go get Krispy Kreme.
And well, here's the thing. Now Niles is sitting with Cece and, you know, Val's pouring their coffee. And we find out that Niles' new fancy title is completely worthless. He didn't get any money. And to add insult to injury, he blew so much money on a new wardrobe thinking he had money coming. And then Val comes over and she's like, I hate to interrupt, but Niles, your break is over. And he stands up. He puts on a Krispy Kreme hat. He's working. He has to moonlight at Krispy Kreme to pay off all this debt he's in. He's what is it? Acquired. And so he's mopping the floor, and that is the button. And they also got a second Krispy Kreme product placement.
10 out of 10. I like this episode. I was a big fan.
It was very fun. And it's, you know what I kind of realized I liked, and this sort of circles back to some of our Instagram commenters. I was getting a little maybe burnt out on the pregnancy, trying to get pregnant stuff.
Same.
And it's nice to see other parts of Fran.
Yes.
You know,
totally.
And so that's the episode. It took us 2 full weeks to get through, but we did it. And now that means it's time for segments.
And now, segments.
Are we ready for segment?
We are so ready for segments. Let's go. All right, so segment time. Segments.
Mm-hmm. Should we move on to our segments? Should we get into our segments? Segments with Shawn and Toria.
Oh my God, I just danced in my chair the whole time. Like I just moved and grooved. I think it's hard to pick a favorite now because I have favorites for different reasons, but that's like maybe top 2. After I think it's that one and the one when we were out on the range, the adventure, the sort of
country one.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, that was the Boogie segments theme. I think when we're done, I'm gonna release a final bonus episode where I just play all of them in a row. I'll just compile all of them.
Oh my God, let's release an album
in one track. No, I'll just release like one, like it'll literally just be one track that I won't even speak on it. It'll just start with the nanny theme and then just play segments for 20 minutes.
Also, okay, because we have a little extra time and energy, I want to like, I'm going to actually record myself just like chair dancing a little to this. And you also have to, and then I'll cut it together and just put a reel, and it'll just be like a fun little, like,
Listen, I would love it more than anything to dance.
I have to dance again.
Little clown. Okay.
All right.
So here we go. Favorite lines and moments. I think by far, right, the top line of the whole show is, well, once it's converted into hot dogs, there's not much you can do. Anything beats that line. I mean, there's other great lines, but holy crap.
The funny thing is, I literally just have the hot dog line. Like, that's like my first. It's so fucking funny.
The other one that I really liked was the lady from the school says, our curriculum is broad-based. And Fran goes, well, what do the boys study?
That's the other one that I have. That's the other one. They're just such like classic, like dumb lines. I just love it.
It's just great. Fran associating the word broad only with women.
I literally go, when we found out that Fran was told they have a broad-based curriculum, and she says, what do the boys study? And then I did really like when the headmistress very matter-of-factly is like, oh, I know your classes, dear, but that's not the problem. Like, it was pretty good.
Like she wasn't fooled for a second.
No. And she's not even like holding it against Fran. It's just like, matter of fact.
Yeah.
And then those were my favorite parts.
That was it.
I did love Maxwell Caulfield because, oh my gosh, you know what? I can actually share this with the audience and it will make sense. The beginning of this record, which was last week, we had our little debate about Grease 2. All week in the car, I was listening to the Grease 2 soundtrack because I had it in my head. I was like, if you really want to know what I want in a guy. I was just like,
wow.
Cool.
Well, and after we had our little Grease 2 debate, I never thought about Grease 2 again until you just brought it up just right this second, and I'm re-traumatized all over.
Well, okay, then we go into...
Oh, I can't wait to release... It's been 2 weeks now, but I can't wait to release this and find that our audience thinks I'm an idiot for not liking Grease 2.
Oh, God.
Our 90% female audience.
Yes, my age and demographic audience.
Yeah.
Yiddish, we got Macher. Like and Gracie says it, and she says it with this great Yiddish accent. She was like, a big time Macher, which is like Yiddish for hot shot,
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
But like always used I only ever heard it used in a sarcastic, biting context.
Yeah.
No one ever used it like to genuinely describe someone who was a mover and shaker. It was always like, oh, he thinks he's a real macha. Like
it's like when Sylvia calls someone you think you're a real hot shot, you're a real big shot.
Yeah.
True.
It's great insult.
But it was...
Sorry, I got to start using that more to people.
You got to start insulting people more.
When people are like, say something like really insulting to me, I'll be like, all right, hot shot.
All right.
And I'll cry.
It's like my favorite, for a long time. After I saw a Boy's Tale with the Robert...
Shark's Tale?
No, Shark
cartoon.
Shark Tank. No, a young Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, where he's like the abusive stepdad, and he goes, "You think you're a real hot shot? You think you're a real hot shot?" But God, we're really into child abuse this week. Okay, but nanny trivia. Okay, this was so cool, and we have been getting so much amazing feedback, trivia, just interesting factoids from our listeners. So I'm going to have to start including more of it, but. One of our amazing listeners, I'll just say her handle. It's Tucker's mom. She messaged us via Instagram, and
Tucker's mom has got it going on. She's all I want, and I'm waiting for so long. Tucker, can't you see that your mom's girl for me? I know I might be wrong, but I'm in love with Tucker's mom. Okay, you're welcome.
Can I just say, dude, yesterday. Monica and I were trying to think of a character name, and I was like, maybe like a Stacy, and I was like, that's not good. I don't know a Stacy. And then she goes, I know a Stacy's mom, and it made me laugh so hard. But okay, so our wonderful listener, she wrote in and told us about an Australian artist named Kayla Coombs, Kayla with a K and Combs Coombs. every single year she does something called Franuary in February, where every day of the month she draws an image of Fran in one of her iconic outfits. And she's a huge Nanny stan, and she's like a digital artist. And these are so cool because it basically like cartoonifies Fran. And so I highly recommend going to @Kayla Coombs on Instagram. She just has like such an awesome, delightful, like positive energy too. I think she also does like children's book illustrations, and she just seems so cool. And she'll sometimes just like she'll be like, she has something where it's like every day I think like, would Fran Fine wear this? And if it's yes, I will wear it. And her cartoons are just, her illustrations are just so awesome. Like I would love to maybe even like reach out and order a print or something and like keep it on my office wall.
Did you send me a link to this? Where do I see this?
Instagram here. Okay. Well, thanks for straight up ignoring everything that comes out. Here, I'm gonna send you the.
No, I mean,
Let me do it.
I thought you sent me a link.
No,
somewhere.
did I? Maybe I did. Okay, I'm gonna send it to you right now. Hold on. You're gonna take.
Right. I'm gonna look at this, and then I'm gonna
Stacey's mom
see my live reaction.
Oh yeah, we know we love when Shawn does live reactions to the art that I sent.
Yeah, everybody loves when I do a live reaction.
You're gonna like this so much. You're gonna like this so much more than the last one that I sent.
I clicked on the link. Oh, these are great. Yeah. Oh wow, she's really good. She's got like a really cool kind of almost Disney-esque style.
Yes, it's like
that she does here with Fran. Wow, these are really cool. Mm-hmm. Man, Kayla Coombs.
Mm-hmm. So everyone go check her out. Follow her. I'm gonna follow her.
Go check her out.
Thank you.
Her stuff is really cool.
So much for that tip. Tucker's mom. Also, I will say we got, even though I think already.
Oh my God. She's got a great picture of Daria too.
Right. I'm a fan. Yeah. I'm a stan.
Yeah, me too. Big fan. I love her.
But I was going to say also, even though we kind of also already established this in trivia last week, a lot of listeners wrote in to say that whole not having sex while you're ovulating is a myth. And so, a lot of people also were aware of that.
Okay.
All right.
Good to know.
So the last order of business, the Fran or the Cece or the whoever.
I wish I was the Val, so I had a job at Krispy Kreme. But I'm more likely to be the Niles who will believe falsely that I've made some inheritance, spend all my money, and then have to get a job at Krispy Kreme.
So I related to the Fran in that I do want to get better at this, and I'm trying not to be so hard on myself, but little lies, like little white lies, can come very easily to me, like in certain social situations. And it's like they come out of it. It's not like I'm the heir to the Krispy Kreme fortune. It's more like, I'll like, it's like, if let's say I'm talking to someone and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I've never traveled there. Even if I have, like, just because it seems like I'm like overthinking it. I'm like, well, maybe they'll think I'm like spoiled if I traveled there. So I don't want them to know that like I've been to Europe. So I kind of try to mimic and mirror, so to speak. And sometimes I'm just like, why did I just do that? Like, why did I just say that? Like, that was so unnecessary. And so
you're like a little social chameleon.
I think, yeah. And I definitely am trying, kind of a little project for myself is being like, just be your authentic self in every situation. Like, if you feel like maybe it's a little uncomfortable, maybe you're not going to maybe this person's not going to respond super well to you, like just totally be yourself.
Yeah.
But it comes very easy to mirror.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I'm mirroring you right now, Shawn. That's our whole friendship is based on me just like mirroring.
Stop doing that.
Stop doing that. Stop it.
No.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was a podcast. That was an episode of this podcast. Mm-hmm. If you liked it, if you think I'm very wrong about Grease 2 or very right about Grease 2 or have any thoughts about Grease 2, really, you should find us on Instagram and Twitter at Oh Mr. Chef Pod. We've also got the Redbubble still, ohmrchefpod.redbubble.com, where we've got some cool stuff that you can buy to put on your body or your phones or wherever, whatever. They sell a bunch of stuff and we got some cool stuff there. And then also, I rarely do this, but I'm going to do it this time. I am co-hosting a podcast with a friend of mine who is an attorney, a social media attorney. And I basically I'm basically the idiot, and I ask a lot of questions about law stuff, and he answers them for me, which I find to be very helpful because I feel like a lot of times when you try to listen to law podcasts, it's just lawyers talking lawyer stuff, and it's impenetrable. So if you want to listen to that, it's called the Social Media Lawcast, and I'm on it. And you can find it where podcasts are.
And listeners, I'll tell you this: I will never listen to this podcast over my dead body. I'm viciously jealous. I can't believe he would go behind my back and do this. But I'll also say this: his co-host, a dreamboat. So I am conflicted.
Just listen to his half of it. Just mute every time I speak. And it's not ready yet, but we've been recording video, so eventually he's going to put up, there's like a video element, so you could just go watch the eye candy, I guess.
Yeah, you got to tell him. You got to be like, my other co-host constantly talks about your dreamboat set. It's the only thing I bring up about this podcast.
Anyway, yeah, Social Media Lawcast. I don't know if that's something that's interesting to you, go listen to it. If not, totally understand. No offense taken. And as always, we'll be back next week with another episode. We're going to be on episode 13 of season 6 or season 6, barreling through this season. I'm very excited. I can't believe that the Fran or the CC bit has worked for over 100 episodes, that we didn't just peter out and stop doing that. I'm really impressed with us.
Well, it's a testament to the writing because they always, they
make it relatable.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Toria, guess what?
Goodbye.
Bye. And now, segments.
Are we ready for segment?
We are so ready for segments. Let's go. All right, so segment time. Segments.
Mm-hmm. Should we move on to our segments? Should we get into our segments? Segments with Shawn and Toria.